You ever wonder what happens when a high school troll grows up and gets access to federal power? You get Stephen Miller.
It's time to speak up. I was a Republican my whole life until Trump. And right now, I want to talk to the non-MAGA Republicans, the ones who still love America. Because authoritarianism doesn't start with tanks in the streets. It starts with words like these. Stephen Miller went on TV this week and said that the Democrat Party isn't a political party, but a domestic extremist organization. That's not normal political rhetoric.
This is the guy everybody actually needs to worry about. Not this guy, not this guy, this guy. He's not loud, he's not flashy, but he's more dangerous than any of them because he's the one who writes the playbook.
Well, I didn't know there were two types of Republicans. Did y'all know? Let me know in the comment section. So there's MAGA and then there's Republicans. Let me tell you, y'all, I'm so shocked about this because y'all, I thought they were all the same. So before, just recently, we had everybody crying over J.D. Vance. And I was so shocked to see even Republicans cry over J.D. Vance. You know, man did so horribly and terribly towards them farmers. Nebraskans cried because of J.D. Vance. Okay, so Stephen Miller is your new devil? Y'all don't like him. Okay, show me somebody who is from red that you guys like. No, because I just found out, ladies and gentlemen, Republicans don't like Trump. Republicans don't like J.D. Vance. Republicans don't like Stephen Miller. Who do you guys like?
Stephen Miller went on TV this week and said that the Democrat Party isn't a political party, but a domestic extremist organization. That's not normal political rhetoric. That is the language of an authoritarian regime. It's how you set the stage for stripping away rights by convincing people that your opponents aren't just rivals, they're enemies of the state. And here's the thing. I know some MAGA will be fine with that. They'd accept a dictator as long as it's their guy. They don't care if they lose freedom as long as somebody they hate loses more. But I also know there are Republicans who still love America. I was one of you. For most of my life, I was Republican, and I know how it feels to believe in those values. And I'm asking you, please see what's happening. The house is burning down, and if we don't join together to put out the fire, none of us will have the freedom to argue about policy ever again. There won't be debates, there won't be elections, because that's not how authoritarianism works. I'm not asking you to join the Democratic Party. I'm not asking you to agree with me on every issue. I'm asking you to stand up for the one thing that matters right now, the one thing we agree on, and that is that we should all live in a democracy. Stephen Miller wants to divide us into enemies, but let's prove him wrong. Let's stand together as Americans for this one issue that I know we agree on. Everybody grab a bucket and let's put out the fire.
Stephen Miller is the guy who crafted Trump's family separation policy and bragged about it. He pushed the Muslim ban. He wrote speeches about American carnage. And now he's building a far-right legal empire called America First Legal, designed to outlive Trump and outmaneuver democracy. But here's the kicker. Stephen Miller is the descendant of Jewish immigrants who fled persecution. Under his own immigration rules, his family would not have been allowed in. He grew up rich in liberal Santa Monica and still chose a life of punching down on refugees and immigrants and anyone who doesn't fit his vision of real America. Spoiler alert, that vision is white, male, and Christian. Miller isn't some relic of the Trump era. He's the future of far-right America. He's quiet, he's strategic, lawfare over loudmouths. He's trying to reshape the country through lawsuits and bureaucracy because the courts don't need a majority vote. They just need loopholes. If we keep treating this like a personality cult around Trump, we miss the machine behind it. Stephen Miller is that machine. And if we don't start paying attention now, we're going to wake up in a country where cruelty isn't only the byproduct, it's the only policy.
Stephen Miller just said something so horrifying while on CNN that he literally shocked himself into silence. Watch this.
I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen? Stephen? Hey, Stephen, can you hear me?
For those of you unfamiliar, plenary authority or plenary power means power that is absolute. It's power that is not subject to any checks or balances at all. It's a legal term. So for example, in the United States, the president of the United States has plenary authority over presidential pardons. There is no one in the United States that can tell any president who they can or cannot grant a federal presidential pardon to, right? Not Congress, not the Supreme Court, no one. The president does not have plenary authority over the military because the president cannot just declare wars wherever he wants. The president cannot just deploy the military en masse and no one at all ever check him on that. That is not a plenary authority that any president has, including the current one. So the fact that Stephen Miller admitted this, you could see on his face, he knew he had up by saying that part out loud. That was very much saying the quiet part out loud, because that means that behind closed doors, the White House sees itself as having dictatorial levels of power. Having a leader with plenary authority across the board, that's called having a king. This is a very, very scary mask-off moment for our country, y'all. But while Stephen Miller said the quiet part out loud on CNN, if you were not watching that interview live, you would have no way of knowing that he said that, because by the time CNN put it up online, they'd edited that part out entirely. So not only do we have a White House that is now saying out loud that they think their power is absolute, we have news platforms that are intentionally obscuring that fact from their audiences. This is horrifying. In fact, apologies if this video is shaking. I am on a road trip at the moment and having to film this in my car, and my hands are literally shaking from how insane this is. So please help me get this information out to folks so that, one, they know that it was said in the first place, and two, they know why it is so scary and what plenary authority means. So please interact with this video in all the ways possible, especially please repost it and let it play through for a second time in full. That gives us the best shot of getting this information out to folks.
Stephen Miller's own cousin has disowned him, calling him the face of evil. Take a look at this post. She posted several different pictures of her and him together when they were younger with this caption. Many of you know who my cousin is. Being public about it is something I've struggled with. I live with real fear about what posting something this raw might bring. I am living with the deep pain of watching someone I once loved become the face of evil, but I know that staying silent only deepens the ache. She then says, Stephen Miller growing up was very lovable and harmless, or I thought so, but I was so deeply wrong. And the realization that I didn't know you at all, it guts me. I grieve what you've become, Stephen. And I grieve what I've lost because of it. I grieve your children I will never meet. I grieve the future family you've stolen from me by choosing a path so filled with cruelty that I cannot and will not be a part of it. I will never knowingly let evil into my life, no matter whose blood it carries, including my own. This is the craziest part. We all know Stephen Miller is pushing 1930s Germany-style propaganda, but the thing is, they were raised Jewish. She says, we carry the trauma of generations who were hunted, hated, expelled, unalived just for existing. We were taught to remember. She asks, how can you do to others what has been done to us? How can you wake up each and every day repeating the cruelty that our people barely escaped from?
This is Stephen Miller, and he's going viral because, well, he's Trump's advisor, and he's kind of a problem. And he's been talking about, white supremacy, his favorite topic. But we're going to bring it back to him in high school when he had a problem with, well, trash.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it.
Now we're going to fast forward to modern day era where, everybody went to this guy's funeral. And I can't say his name because, well, the algorithm, and they don't like us saying his name. We're talking negative about him because they love to silence us, right? Yet they're not dictators. But they went to his funeral, and this is the scenery at that funeral. Trash everywhere, walking around it, stepping on it, didn't care. Even police officers who they love are picking it up, not the janitors that Stephen said they wanted to pick it up. That's how we know every projection is a confession. Everything they say somebody else is doing, they're the ones that do it. So before you get a little infuriated by this guy, just know who they really are.
Okay, this one is actually freaky, so stick until the end. We start with this guy. Remember him? This is Richard Spencer. He briefly became the most famous neo-Nazi in America after Trump's first election with this speech.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
This is when neo-Nazis were starting to rebrand as alt-right, but as you can see, they were still super mask off. If you don't know, Hail Victory is English for Sieg Heil. Anyway, listen closely to this part of the speech.
To be white is to be a striver, a crusader, an explorer, and a conqueror. We build, we produce, we go upward.
And that is a regular neo-Nazi talking point that you hear often these days, that white people build, create, invent things, that they're the source of civilization or whatever. Keep that in the back of your mind, but enough of Richard Spencer for now. Because this rotten, hard-boiled egg is Stephen Miller. He's one of the only high-level White House staffers that stayed with Trump after his first term. And he's Trump's main immigration advisor, the architect of Trump's immigration policy. And even though he comes from a Jewish family, his own family members say that guy totally would have been an SS officer back in the day. Anyway, this is a section of his speech at the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity.
Yeah, things are getting dark, man. Things are getting really dark.
This is unbelievable. Stephen Miller is using what happened to Charlie Kirk as an excuse for Donald Trump to take away people's rights. Watch this clip of him saying they're going to, quote, take away the freedoms of anybody who opposes them. It's unreal.
You want us to live in fear? We will not live in fear, but you will live in exile. Because the power of law enforcement under President Trump's leadership will be used to find you, will be used to take away your money, take away your power, and if you've broken the law, to take away your freedom, Sean.
When he uses the word they, we all know he's talking about the Democrats and left-wing organizations, despite the fact the guy who took Charlie Kirk's life was raised by a conservative family who loves Trump. But what Stephen Miller is saying is not normal political rhetoric, it is authoritarian language. He's not talking about justice, he's talking about weaponizing the president's power to get revenge. He wants to use law enforcement not as a neutral institution, but as a weapon to punish his political opponents, take away their money, and take away their freedom. And the irony here is unbelievable. These are the same guys who constantly scream about big government tyranny and weaponizing the DOJ, and then yet here they are, openly bragging about how they plan to weaponize the state against Democrats over an event that had nothing to do with them.
I think people don't understand. When you put somebody in power, you put in power their values. And for them, I think they thought, well, it's all about, no abortions, we don't want the LGBTQ, and, good values. But then the values also that come with being a red person is racism, not liking other people, thinking other people don't have a right to live, the children in Gaza are pigs. That is one of the values that come with being a Republican, because the person you put in power, that's what he believes in. Unfortunately, when you put that person in power, you knew what he stood for. And if the head is like that, then so is the VP, and so is the military guy, and so is everybody. Okay? And to see MAGA on the internet sit down and start regretting that we don't want to leave being a Republican, it's just that everything is going wrong. I guess black people say so. Yeah. Because now it looks so hard to be a Republican and not be called a racist. You understand what I mean? It's so hard now to be a Republican and people don't think, well, you literally think the children in Gaza should starve. Because the person you put in power, that's his values, and you knew it. And you went ahead, put him in the chair, and put him in the chair. So, yeah. Okay, MAGA regrets are crazy. Yeah, and I'm shocked that within them there are divisions. What do you mean we have this woman crying that this is not what I voted for? It is so hard being a Republican now. What do you mean we have this woman crying that this is not what I... What do you mean we have this woman crying? This is not what I voted for. It is so hard being a Republican now. And we have a new Charlie Kirk on the rising talking about we need a Papa revolution. Yes, I voted for DJT, but like the things he's doing are way out of what I thought he would do. So like, I don't feel like I want to leave and become a Democrat. It's just that like, I want us to have a certain other group of Republicans that don't believe in ABCD that our president is doing. Okay. Oh, now y'all see the consequences of the person that you put in the power.